Dear friends, welcome to our channel. We are very happy to share with you different stories about love and betrayal from around the world. So let's begin our story journey today. An email changed everything. Aaron sat at the edge of the hotel room bed, staring at his phone screen, feeling the world collapse around him. He should have been enjoying this rare business trip opportunity, his first international business trip in 5 years. However, Julia's email turned this journey into a nightmare. I've already sent out the divorce agreement. Hope you can sign it soon. Even our daughter Megan agrees this is the best option, haha. This brief message included several photos, a scanned copy of the divorce agreement, and a photo of Julia with their 19-year-old daughter Megan, both with radiant smiles. Aaron took a deep breath, trying to calm his heartbeat. 17 years of marriage, ending just like that? And in such a dismissive way? This will make things easier for me, Aaron thought, a bitter smile appearing on his face. Perhaps it was a relief. In recent months, he had felt Julia becoming increasingly distant, always with excuses for coming home late, disappearing on weekends, and even changing her phone password. Although he had suspicions, he didn't expect things would develop to this point. Aaron placed his laptop on his knees and logged into his bank account. As a seasoned cybersecurity expert, Aaron had always been careful in managing family finances. Over the years, he had gradually built a safety net that Julia didn't know about. Not due to distrust, but out of professional habit. He checked the various accounts, confirming that everything was still under his control. Then, he sent a brief message to his lawyer Richard. Need to meet. Emergency situation. I'll be back day after tomorrow. Throughout the flight, Aaron's thoughts were churning. He remembered their first meeting at a technical seminar. Julia was a marketing director, smart and confident. Their relationship developed quickly. They married a year later and soon welcomed their daughter Megan. Married life wasn't perfect, but Aaron never thought it would end like this. He always believed he was a good husband and father. As a remote working software security specialist, he had flexible working hours and could participate in every aspect of family life. He never missed any of Megan's important events and always tried to support Julia's career development. However, evidently all this wasn't enough for Julia. After returning to the United States, Aaron went directly from the airport to Richard's law office. Based on the information you've given me, the situation doesn't look good, said Richard, adjusting his glasses. But there are ways to deal with it. You say she mentioned your daughter agrees with the divorce. Aaron nodded, taking out his phone to show that message with the stinging haha. This is strange, Richard said with a frown. Megan has never shown any discontent towards you. According to what you describe, your relationship has always been good. Yes, we video called last week and everything was normal. She introduced me to her new roommate, and we planned her return home for the summer vacation. Richard thought for a moment, then said, I advise you not to contact Julia yet, but you can try talking to Megan to understand the actual situation. Meanwhile, I need you to provide a detailed record of Julia's unusual behavior in these months. After leaving the law office, Aaron didn't go straight home. He knew Julia had yoga class every Thursday night, which gave him enough time to return home alone and gather more information. He needed to know the truth, no matter how painful. The house was unusually quiet. Aaron walked into the master bedroom and looked around. On the bedside table was a photo of Julia, taken during a family vacation at the Grand Canyon. He picked up the photo, gazing at Julia's radiant smile, feeling a pang in his heart. When did everything start to change? He asked himself. Aaron began to systematically examine the documents and computers in the house. As a cybersecurity expert, he knew most people leave traces in the digital world. If Julia was having an affair, there would surely be clues. He first checked the shared home computer. After logging in, he checked the browser history. Most had been cleared, which was unusual. Then he checked the cloud storage accounts and discovered that a few months ago Julia had started creating private folders, set up with separate password protection. Aaron took a deep breath and ran a professional recovery tool. A few minutes later, he found traces of deleted emails and messages. With each recovered message, a clear picture began to emerge. Julia was involved with her colleague Nathan, and it had been going on for at least 6 months. Nathan was the new marketing department director, married with 2 children. The messages showed they planned to make their relationship public after Aaron signed the divorce agreement. Most shocking to Aaron was discovering screenshots of conversations between Julia and Megan. Julia had told Megan that Aaron had been unfaithful to her, had multiple affairs, and even suggested that Aaron's business trip was to meet other women. Julia had shown Megan modified evidence, normal work photos of Aaron with female colleagues that had suggestive dialogue boxes added to them. That's why Megan agrees with the divorce, Aaron murmured, feeling a sharp pain in his chest. She had been deceived, manipulated by her own mother to believe her father was a cheater. Aaron saved all the evidence he found and began reviewing the financial records. He discovered that Julia had already begun transferring money to a new account, preparing for life after divorce. Most absurdly, she had even marked websites searching for new houses in the most expensive community in the area, clearly beyond what she could afford on her personal income. When the clock struck 8, Aaron heard the sound of the front door opening. He quickly turned off the computer and returned everything to its original state. "You're back," said Julia, standing at the bedroom door, clearly surprised. She looked meticulously groomed, with elaborate makeup and a new dress Aaron had never seen. "I thought you were coming back tomorrow." "There was a change in the itinerary," Aaron replied calmly, struggling to control his emotions. "How was your yoga class?" Julia's expression instantly tensed. "Good, very relaxing. You know, stress management is important." Aaron nodded, noticing that Julia didn't have any sports bag or yoga mat. He decided not to confront her. It wasn't the right time yet. "I'm tired, probably going to bed early," said Aaron. "By the way, I received the divorce agreement you sent." Julia's eyes lit up, but she tried to hide her excitement. "Oh yes, I hope you understand this is the best option for both of us." Aaron maintained an expressionless face. "I'll take care of it. But first I want to talk to Megan to confirm she really supports this decision." Julia's expression instantly changed. "She has already stated her position. There's no need to bother her. She's busy preparing for her final exams. As her father, I want to hear her thoughts personally." Julia reluctantly nodded, then excused herself, saying she was going to take a shower, quickly leaving the room. Aaron noticed she took her phone to the bathroom, undoubtedly to warn Nathan or send a message to Megan to back up her lies. The next morning, Aaron got up early and drove to the university where Megan was studying. He didn't inform Julia or Megan beforehand, wanting a real, uninterrupted conversation. In the campus cafe, Megan showed a complex expression when she saw Aaron: shock, confusion, and even a hint of guilt. "Dad, what are you doing here?" she asked, nervously looking around, as if afraid of being seen. "I want to talk to you about the divorce your mother has proposed." Megan's expression became defensive. "She said you would come looking for me, trying to make me change my stance." Aaron took a deep breath, then said softly, "Megan, what has your mother told you about me?" Megan bit her lip, then voiced the accusations: infidelity, betrayal, deception. Each word stabbed like a knife into Aaron's heart. "What evidence did she show you?" Aaron calmly asked. "Photos, messages," Megan replied, but her voice already carried uncertainty. "And your frequent business trips." Aaron took out his phone and laptop. "I want to show you something." Over the next hour, Aaron showed Megan all the evidence he had collected: Julia's relationship with Nathan, the modified photos, and how Julia had systematically deceived her. The most compelling evidence was a recovered conversation where Julia and Nathan discussed how to convince Megan to support the divorce, making Aaron the villain. Megan's face grew increasingly pale. When Aaron finished showing the last piece of evidence, her tears were already falling uncontrollably. "I can't believe she would do this to us," Megan choked out. "I thought." Aaron took his daughter's hand. "Megan, I have never betrayed your mother, nor have I ever thought about ending our marriage. But now it seems she has made her choice." Megan dried her tears and looked at her father. "What are you going to do now?" Aaron thought for a moment, then showed a calm smile. "Sign. Give her everything. And then, wait and see." Megan frowned in confusion. "You're going to give up everything?" "What?" "Trust me," said Aaron, with a gleam of determination in his eyes. "There are things more important than houses and bank accounts. Your mother will soon understand that." After leaving campus, Aaron went directly to Richard's law office, handing over all the evidence he had collected. "This is very valuable," said Richard, leafing through the documents, "especially the part about property transfers. We can file objections, seek more favorable terms." Aaron shook his head. "No, I want to sign the agreement according to her terms. Richard looked at him in shock. Are you sure? You'll lose most of the common property that way. I have my reasons, said Aaron. Besides, I believe the truth will eventually come to light. Returning home, Aaron found Julia packing. Seeing him enter, she stopped what she was doing. Where have you been? She asked, with an artificial tone of concern. I went to see Megan, Aaron replied calmly. We had a good talk. Julia's expression became tense. What did she tell you? The truth, Aaron said simply. Then, he took out the signed divorce agreement and put it on the table. What you wanted. All properties transferred to your name. The house, the cars, the bank accounts. All yours. Julia appeared both surprised and jubilant, but quickly disguised her expression. We can handle this civilly, right? Aaron smiled and said, Of course, everything will unfold according to your plan. The day after signing the documents, Aaron moved out of the house where they had lived together for 15 years. He rented a small apartment, taking only his personal items and some mementos that had special meaning to him. Julia could barely hide her joy and began planning her new life with Nathan. She had already contacted a real estate agent, preparing to sell the existing house and buy the mansion she had always desired. She was certain that with the property transferred by Aaron, plus Nathan's income, they could live the life of her dreams. Megan regularly visited Aaron, and their relationship was closer than ever. She told Aaron that Julia had already begun dating Nathan openly, even bringing him home overnight. She seems to have completely forgotten you exist, Dad, Megan said sadly, as if 17 years of marriage meant nothing to her. Aaron took his daughter's hand and said gently, People make choices and then bear the consequences of those choices. Your mother's choices, her consequences. Don't feel guilty or responsible for her actions. Megan nodded, but remained confused by her father's calmness. Why are you so calm? She took almost everything. Aaron smiled mysteriously. Some things can't be seen on an account balance or property deed. Be patient. The truth always rises to the surface. 3 months passed. Julia and Nathan's relationship seemed to be going well. They sold Aaron and Julia's old house, buying a new mansion. Julia frequently posted photos of their luxurious life on social media, expensive dinners, weekend getaways, newly acquired luxury cars. She even hinted they would soon be engaged. However, Aaron knew a storm was coming. He had been waiting for the right time, and now that time had finally arrived. Julia's world began to collapse on an ordinary Tuesday morning. She was enjoying breakfast, leafing through mansion decoration magazines, planning the next step in remodeling her new home. Nathan had already left for work, leaving Julia immersed in the joy of her new life. The sound of the phone interrupted her thoughts. The screen showed it was the bank. Ms. Julia, this is Thomas, your personal bank advisor, came a serious voice on the other end. We need you to come to the branch as soon as possible. There are some urgent account issues we need to discuss. Julia felt a hint of unease, but quickly reassured herself, thinking it might just be routine procedures. What is it regarding? I'm afraid I can't discuss it in detail over the phone, but it's related to your recent large sum transactions. Please come as soon as possible. 2 hours later, Julia was sitting in the bank manager's office, pale-faced. I don't understand, she stammered. How can there be no money in the account? Last week I checked the balance. There was over $1 million. The bank manager said expressionlessly, According to our records, these funds were transferred to an offshore account just yesterday. The transfer was completed using your authorization, with your electronic signature. That's impossible, Julia exclaimed. I never authorized any transfer. This must be some kind of error or fraud. The manager adjusted his glasses. I'm afraid the situation is more complicated. We have also received a notice from the Internal Revenue Service regarding several large undeclared deposits in your account. They have already initiated an investigation procedure. Julia's heart raced. That money was what Nathan had privately transferred to her from his company account. Additional funds for buying the mansion and luxury items. Both had agreed not to declare this income to avoid taxes. I need to contact my lawyer, Julia said weakly. After leaving the bank, Julia immediately called Nathan, but he didn't answer. She drove to his office, but was told Nathan hadn't come to work that day. In fact, he hadn't shown up for a week. Julia's panic increased. She called Nathan's home phone, and Vanessa, his wife, answered. Who are you? Vanessa asked coldly. I'm Julia, Nathan's. Julia hesitated, not knowing how to describe her relationship. Ah, the mistress. Vanessa's voice was full of sarcasm. If you're looking for Nathan, I'm afraid you're too late. He disappeared yesterday with money and passport, leaving me and the children facing a pile of debts and legal problems. Julia felt the world spinning. What legal problems? Embezzlement, tax fraud, and more, Vanessa sneered. It seems he didn't just betray me in the family realm. The company has already called the police. Julia hung up the phone, feeling nauseous. Her phone rang. It was a call from the real estate agent. Ms. Julia, I have bad news, said the agent. Your mortgage application has been rejected. The bank indicates your credit score has suddenly dropped, and you don't have enough assets as collateral. Julia realized with horror that her financial world was collapsing. Without Nathan, without savings, and even without a reliable credit score, she was about to lose everything. The mansion, luxury cars, luxurious life. Most frightening was that she remembered a clause in the divorce agreement. If either party was found to have committed financial fraud, the agreement could be revisited. At the time, she thought it was just a standard clause and didn't pay much attention to it. Julia decided to contact her lawyer, but before calling, she received an anonymous text message. Check today's local news. With an ominous feeling, Julia opened her laptop and accessed the local news website. The headline left her stunned. Local executive suspected of large-scale financial fraud, conspiring with lover to transfer company funds. The article described in detail how Nathan had systematically diverted company funds to various accounts, including his lover Julia's account. The article also mentioned tax fraud and possible money laundering charges. This can't be, Julia murmured, fear gripping her heart. She knew Nathan had taken some extra bonuses from the company, but never thought it could be criminal activity. Her phone rang again. This time it was her lawyer. Julia, we need to talk. The lawyer's voice was serious and tense. I just received a notice from the opposing counsel. They are requesting to revisit the divorce agreement based on newly discovered evidence of financial fraud. When Julia walked into the lawyer's office, she felt the entire world was collapsing. Her lawyer had a grim expression, with a large amount of documents spread out on the table. How bad is it? Julia asked quietly. The lawyer sighed. Very bad. They have concrete evidence showing that you and Nathan conspired to transfer and hide assets, evading taxes. Worse yet, there is evidence that you deliberately provided false information during the divorce process. Julia slumped in her chair. Where did these proofs come from? Provided anonymously to the prosecutor's office, then forwarded to the tax department and your ex-husband's lawyer. The lawyer paused, then added, these proofs are very detailed, including bank transfer records, call logs, even screenshots of private conversations between you and Nathan. Julia's face turned ashen. What consequences am I facing? Worst case scenario? If the tax fraud and perjury charges stand, you could face fines and imprisonment. In the civil arena, the divorce agreement will be overturned. You may have to return all properties, even compensate your ex-husband for damages. Julia's world completely collapsed in one day. She lost Nathan, lost the money, was about to lose the house, and now might even face legal sanctions. That night, she desperately called Aaron, hoping he could help her. To her surprise, Aaron agreed to meet. In the cafe, Aaron looked calm and confident, in stark contrast to Julia's desperation. You knew about all this, didn't you? Julia asked, her voice trembling. Aaron sipped his coffee, nodding. I knew Nathan was a con man. From the first day I investigated your relationship. I knew he was misappropriating company funds. I knew how you planned to transfer and hide that money. Then why? Why did you sign the divorce agreement? Why give me everything? Aaron's gaze turned sharp. Because there are lessons a person must experience personally to truly understand. Was it you who reported us to the authorities? Julia's voice was almost a whisper. Not entirely, Aaron answered. Nathan's company was already investigating him. I just provided some information they might have overlooked. As for the tax department, they've always been good at detecting anomalies. Julia's tears fell. So all of this was a carefully planned revenge? Aaron shook his head. No, Julia. This is the inevitable result of your own choices. You chose to betray, you chose to deceive, you chose greed. I simply didn't prevent you from following the path to your self-destruction. I'll lose everything, Julia sobbed. The house, the money, maybe even freedom. Not completely, Aaron said calmly. Megan still loves you, despite being hurt. And you still have your talent and capability. But yes, you've lost those things you obtained through deception. Julia looked up at Aaron, suddenly realizing something. You never transferred all the money to my name, did you? Aaron smiled. Of course not. As a cybersecurity expert, I know how to protect my assets. What you saw was just the tip of the iceberg. Why? Julia asked, with genuine confusion in her voice. Why did you do this? You could have directly exposed my relationship with Nathan, sought favorable divorce terms. Aaron reflected for a moment, then replied, because some lessons aren't learned just by being told. I could have told you Nathan was a con man, but would you have believed me? I could have warned you about the cost of greed, but would that have changed your behavior? Julia lowered her head, tears falling onto the table. I ruined everything. Yes, you ruined our marriage, Aaron admitted. But your life isn't completely destroyed. It depends on how you face these challenges from now on. Aaron stood up, preparing to leave. By the way, I've already asked Richard to prepare a statement, testifying that you were misled and manipulated by Nathan during the divorce process. This might help reduce some of your legal liability. Not for you, but for Megan. She doesn't need to see her mother go to prison. Julia looked at Aaron in shock. Why are you still helping me? After everything I've done. This isn't helping you, Aaron said calmly. It's for my own conscience and for our daughter. I never wanted to see you suffer punishment beyond what you deserve. In the following weeks, Nathan's case continued to develop. Police arrested him in Mexico through international cooperation, with evidence showing he had systematically embezzled company funds amounting to millions of dollars. Meanwhile, Julia's legal situation was becoming increasingly complicated. Julia was forced to sell the mansion to pay debts, moving into a low-rent apartment. Her credit score plummeted, and her professional prospects were dim. She also lost her job in the marketing department due to her association with Nathan. No company wanted to hire someone linked to a financial fraud case. One night, as Julia was sorting documents alone in her apartment, she found an old photo. Her, Aaron, and Megan at Megan's 10th birthday. Back then they looked so happy, so full of hope. Julia couldn't help but wonder, at what point did she start taking the wrong path? Was it because Aaron was too focused on work? No, she knew that wasn't true. Aaron always tried to balance work and family, never missed any important occasions. Was it because she grew tired of the status quo? Maybe. Julia admitted that as she aged, she began to desire more wealth, more excitement, more social recognition. When Nathan appeared in her life, with charm and promises, she felt easily attracted. However, Nathan's promises now seemed so hollow. He never really cared about her, just used her as a tool and cover for his financial fraud. And she, blinded by vanity and greed, not only lost a husband who loved her, but also hurt her daughter, destroying everything she had built with such effort. Meanwhile, Aaron's life was being rebuilt. He bought a comfortable new house, away from the neighborhood where his old residence was located. His career continued to flourish, his reputation as a cybersecurity specialist bringing him more high-end clients. More importantly, Aaron was beginning to emerge from the shadows of the past. Through participation in community activities and resuming old hobbies, he gradually expanded his social circle. People noticed he was starting to spend time with Claire, a woman from his programming club. She was intelligent, independent, and, most importantly, honest and upright. Megan was excelling at university, although the family turmoil had brought her emotional challenges. Her relationship with Aaron was closer, while she also tried to maintain contact with Julia, though this was becoming increasingly difficult. She always seemed so sad and regretful, Megan told Aaron on one occasion. I don't know how to help her, Aaron said gently. Sometimes, people need to face the consequences of their choices alone. The best thing you can do is to continue loving her, but not let her problems become your burden. One day, Aaron received a letter. The envelope had no return address. He opened the envelope and found a handwritten letter, the handwriting he immediately recognized as Julia's. Dear Aaron, I know that when you see this letter, you may want to tear it up immediately. I wouldn't blame you, but I hope you can give me a few minutes to say what I need to say. First, I sincerely apologize to you. This is not an empty apology to make myself feel better, but a sincere acknowledgement of the harm I caused you. I betrayed your trust, I lied, I deceived, and I made you feel that the failure of our marriage was your fault. But the truth is, the fault was entirely mine. You gave me everything: love, support, stability, and I was insatiable. I thought Nathan represented some kind of passion or adventure, but in the end, he only represented deception and emptiness. When he tired of me, as he had done before, he left me again. I lost the only person who truly loved me, you. I have no intention of returning to your life, Aaron. That bridge has been burned, impossible to rebuild. But I want you to know that your punishment towards me was just. In fact, life has given me more lessons. I'm now starting over in another state. No one here knows my past. I can start anew. I found a simple job, rented a small apartment, trying to rebuild. It's difficult, but it's what I deserve. I've heard you found happiness with someone named Claire. I'm happy for you, Aaron. Truly. You deserve to be happy, loved, respected. I hope she can give you everything I never could. Lastly, I want you to know that I never hated you, even in the darkest days. I hated myself, my choices, and what I had become. Farewell, Aaron. May you find the peace and joy we never had in our marriage. Julia. Aaron finished reading the letter, feeling a complex emotion. There was no anger, no pain, just a strange sense of closure, as if a story that had tormented him for years finally had an ending. He felt no urge to respond. That chapter of his life was over. But he didn't tear up the letter either. Instead, he carefully folded it, put it back in the envelope, and stored it in the back of a drawer. A reminder, not about Julia or betrayal, but about his own journey, from being someone hurt and betrayed to being someone capable of letting go and moving on. 6 months later, Nathan's trial concluded, with him being sentenced to 10 years in prison. Julia avoided criminal charges, but her financial situation and reputation were irreparably damaged. According to the re-evaluated divorce agreement, she was required to return most of the property. Meanwhile, Aaron and Claire's relationship continued to develop. They didn't rush things, but valued the trust and understanding they had built between them. Claire knew Aaron's past, but didn't let it define their relationship. Past pain shapes us, but doesn't determine our future, she had told Aaron. What's important is what we learn from it and how we choose to move forward. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, Aaron, Claire, and Megan were having a picnic in the park. In the distance, Aaron saw a familiar figure, Julia, sitting alone on a bench. She looked much thinner, and her hair showed some gray. She didn't notice them, and Aaron didn't approach to greet her. That chapter was over, and a new one was being written. Although he would never forgive Julia's betrayal, he was no longer bound by hatred and pain. "Dad, what are you looking at?" asked Megan, following his gaze. Aaron turned to his daughter and Claire, smiling and saying, "Just thinking that life sometimes takes us on unexpected paths, but in the end, the truth always comes to light." Megan nodded, with a gleam of understanding in her eyes. "As you always say, our choices shape our destiny." "Exactly," said Aaron, taking Claire's hand. "And I'm grateful that my choices have brought me here, with you both." At the other end of the park, Julia finally noticed them. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded slightly in acknowledgement, before standing up and leaving. She knew she had lost the right to be part of their lives again, but seeing Aaron happy gave her a sense of peace. It wasn't forgiveness, but an acknowledgement on their respective paths, hers towards redemption, his towards rebirth. Because no matter how painful it is, the truth will eventually come to light, and each person will finally face the consequences of their own choices. For Aaron, the ultimate victory wasn't through revenge, but through rebuilding a better, more authentic life. Although the journey was filled with pain, he gained something more valuable. He learned his own strength, rediscovered his capacity to trust and love, and created a life that could move forward even under the shadow of betrayal. And this, for him, was the most perfect justice. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. We hope to see you again in our next story.